to the fam. Peace 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 to the fam. No more. Gotta show what we stand for. Shot down in the streets by another police. They wanna start a race war. My people gotta stay strong. Come together and we face storms. We can hold our dollar. We collapse their dollar. Incite our power. Take back our land. Hold back our dollars. Black power we stand. All of you depend on the next move. 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 Peace to the fam. 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 Peace to the fam.
It seems kind of like, you know, it seems like mechanical or something that a human being wouldn't subject another human being to, but this is the kind of society we live in. This is the kind of laws that we live under. And it's because of the people who have the power. That is why we live under these kind of laws, and it's always loopholes. They created that so it would be loopholes so they could go back and do whatever they wanted to do deceptively to the mass public.
You already know. Let's get this brother real quick.
Yeah, I like that. You said there was no black race. I agree with that, but what race are you from?
What race I'm from? First Republic of New Covenant. That's our community. First Republic of New Covenant.
First Republic?
I'm a member of the First Republic of New Covenant.
Okay, now is there a land of that particular name?
Yes, and this is how we're taught in our lessons in the New Covenant. Let me answer you. In regards to our land, it has no algorithm of movement, thus no physical computation. Hence, it's not locked into any specific jurisdiction. Allow me to explain, because your mouth's about to move. All right?
Go ahead.
All right, so let me do it like this. What we as a people have to stop doing, we have several lands. You might have heard a term, I'm going to paraphrase. The sun shines in Britain on both sides of the equator. You might have heard of that. That means they're colonizing all over the world. The biggest mistake we've made that we have not learned from our oppressor is that they don't make one land exclusive to them. They are in for a world dominion and dominancy. When we say we have to go back to Africa, we have underappreciated where we presently stand. You understand what I'm saying? We, hold on, are either Africans or we are either earthlings. I'm an earthling, hold on. So I'm an earthling and my family has their inception on planet Earth. Before Pangea, before the continental shift, we are Adamites, to use a religious term, but it simply means earthlings, or people of the earth. Adama, okay, the ground. All right, so being that we have our inception in the earth, then we don't claim right to one specific location. Thus, you get locked into a jurisdiction, and if other people are occupying that space, now you find yourself displaced. Instead, we network all our different lands all around the world. We have acres, over 100 acres of land in Monrovia, Liberia. We have some in Mali. We just came out from July 1st to 14th. We just bought, these brothers are actually with me, actually. You can get these brothers right here. They took the trip with New Covenant to buy themselves property as well. We went out there, we bought timeshares, we bought land, and we bought houses. Members of our New Covenant community. They're also members of the First Republic of New Covenant community. So they just came out to that trip. The science is, hold on, to network the different communities, because this is what's going on. This is what's going on. If you cleave onto one place, like I said, in regards to our land, it has no algorithm of movement. Thus no physical computation, hence it's not locked into a specific jurisdiction. The point of that is, once you start writing down where your people immediately are coming from, as if it's not around the whole world, you have given a type of personage to the very land that you are in. and I'm gonna ask you a question before I let you go. I'm gonna ask you one question.
I'm just asking a question, and that is that I own 467 acres of land in the Catskills in Parksville, New York, in Sullivan County. All right, but still in all, every people is identified by a landmass. The Russians, Russia. The Puerto Ricans, Puerto Rico. The Italians, Italy. You can't name a people on the earth that are not identified by a geographical location of land. You see.
Let me say one thing to you. Okay. Let me say one thing to you. I feel you, but let me say it like this.
I'm just saying that's what
we're going to come right back to you. I'm not trying to disrespect you. Every people around the world has a land identifying them, not the other way around. I'm going to tell you this.
Well, the land was there before the people. So the people come from the land. The land don't come from the people.
Okay, let me explain something to you. The people are made up from the land, but the logic is this. Wherever the people are, the land is. That's the logic. Don't let them get you with the tricknology. I'm going to ask a question to everybody here. Hold on before you disagree. I hear you. You are talking facts. I understand you. But let's build. Let's build. I'm going to ask a question to everybody. If an African couple, we gotta find out what's more important, the land or the people. The people gotta get the land, okay? But let's get this out. Let's get this figured out. I'm gonna ask the people: if two people, a man and a woman, copulate, have sexual intercourse, that is, and they live in Africa, but then they go to China, and the child is born, is that child Chinese or is that child African?
He's of African descent, but he's a Chinese nationality.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's get some more. Hold on, brother. No, I have to finish.
Let me say this.
I gotta set up.
If a cat has kittens in it,
oh shit, here we go.
Call those kittens biscuits? Okay.
Hold on. Go again. I would like him to ask that crazy ass question.
All right, sure you're right. If a cat has kittens in it of them, will you call those kittens biscuits?
No, we would call them dead kittens that been burnt in the oven. They still kittens. They still
from a cat.
They still kittens, brother. They still cats. But let me explain something to you, the logic. If an African couple, let's ask some people over here. If an African couple has sex in Africa and they go to China and the child is born, is that child from that African couple Chinese or is that child African? Let's ask some people over here. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Is the child African or Chinese? The child's African. All right, now I'm asking you another question. Hold on. Just listen to the point, brother. Just listen to the point. Now, I got another question. Hold on. Let me show you something now. Hold on, y'all. Let me show you something. Now, if according to the consensus, doesn't necessarily mean it's right, but according to the consensus, right? Hold on, baby. We're gonna get it. It's gonna pick up on the tape.
Excuse me, one at a time.
Now, according to the consensus, if an African couple gives birth to their child in China, the child is still African. The next question is this: if 1,000 Africans, right, under the same conditions, goes to China and all their children are born, those children also are African, of course, right? Same conditions. It's just instead of 1 African, it's 1,000 Africans. Now let's be more realistic. Let's call China America. If millions of Africans, not to say there wasn't no black people here already, if millions of Africans were brought to America, right, and they produce children, their children are still what? They still African, correct? We can keep saying descent if we want, but if an African couple has sex and they go somewhere around the world and produce a baby, we understand, without the devil's tricknology, that those children are African. So if 1 million Africans are kidnapped and they're making children in America, does that not make America Africa now? Just think about the psychology. Africa is wherever African people are. Africa is wherever African people are. Point blank, period. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we over here want to go to Africa and we think that everything's going to be sweet. But as if the Africans, they're going to be looking at us like, I hope you can fix this shit over here. I hope you ain't thinking it's going to be free over here, because they're killing us over here too. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us are saying go back to Africa because we know realistically none of us are going to go over there. We don't have the funds for it, and we don't understand the politics over there. It's an unrealistic thing to say because we don't really mean it. If we did mean it, one of these go back to Africa organizations would have went back there by now. You understand what I'm saying? But we need the economics. Well, my point is this. Africa is wherever the African people are.
Sure, you're right.
Let's not take it out of context and think we get home is where the heart is. Another analogy. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying this to be belligerent. I'm saying, look, we got to clear up wherever we are and understand how to create a system before we go to Africa and and further their decline. Because right now, the whole world is watching the American African, right? If you will. Don't get mad at the term. I'm just using it for the sake of context. The world is watching the African American, and I travel all over the world. You can tell they're poisoned by our music. Everybody, they're poisoned by the way we eat. They're poisoned by the way we carry ourselves. The whole world is waiting for us over here to get our shit right. Believe it or not, we are the ones that have the most freedom, even though we are oppressed. We are the ones that have the most accessible information, though we are oppressed. The whole world is watching us on the world. There's a world stage, and the African American is on it. And if we don't get it right, we won't be setting the stage for freedom world over. We got to get that together. Go ahead.
Just like you said, Africa is like what people don't understand is by the year 2013, well 2015, China will surpass America in supremacy as far as technology, as far as chemicals, chemical manufacturing, raw materials. They got 3 billion people over there. They got 350 million with education. They got they are growing at a rate that is gonna put America as a second-class citizen. Africa, they're also investing in Africa. They got billions of dollars investing in Africa right now in the lower part, in sub-Saharan Africa. They got billions of dollars.
The infrastructure is actually
Africa
better.
is gonna be the new USA in 15 years. Africa is gonna be the new USA.
Black is not a race, but Judaism and homosexuality is. That's the subject matter.
That's the subject matter.
Black is not a race. Judaism and homosexuality is. And if you don't believe it, you go outside and you see who has more rights than the black man that's been here the whole time. They actually use our struggle to pass laws to affect them best.
That's right.
That's right. They use discrimination that we went through to work in their favor. Because we don't know how to confirm our status or our legal disposition, because again, we can't agree on nothing. That's the problem. We need a group of people that can actually agree on something so we can get the momentum of our community. And that's why I said we have to set up a system of common customs which precipitates culture. Okay? We need to set up a system of common customs that precipitates culture. Why? What you have to call it? Alright, that precipitates culture. Why? Because when Jews get married, Hindus get married, Arabs get married, and black people get married, only one person falls out the scale of the equation in terms of common customs and culture. Because when black people get married, they buy the ring from someone outside of their belief system, their faith, their spirituality, and their race. When black people get married, they buy their wedding garb from someone outside their race, outside their faith, outside their community. When black people buy the wedding cake, they buy the wedding cake from someone outside their race, outside their faith, outside their community. When black people get married, they don't even care what's the race of the person marrying them. They just get married by someone outside their race.
The cake guy rich, we make Bill Wayne
cake
rich,
guy, clothes guy, Jacob the jeweler, and chances are black people enslaved for the damn ring in the first place. So now, let's look at the conditions when the Arab gets married. First of all, he doesn't even want you to know too much about how they practice culture so you don't get inspired. Jews don't want you to learn how to practice culture so you don't get inspired. Hindus don't want to show you how to practice culture so you don't get inspired. So guess what? They control the media. You know what they do? They give you movies like The Best Man, and they show you how to have a nigga wedding. You know what I'm saying? They show you how to have a nigga wedding. The Best Man. But how many Best Man movies you see in the Arab form, or the Hindu form, or the Judaic form? They don't even want you to get confident that you can practice a culture. Okay, guess what? There's a role that civics plays in culture. Okay, civil practice has to be integrated with the common customs of today. So what happens is, when a Jew practices culture, when they buy a wedding garb, the money goes back into the Judaic community. It doesn't even go back, it stays. When the Jews practice the Sabbath, the money for the challah bread can only, the challah bread can only be sold by a Jew, and the money is in the Jewish community. So we find that when we practice foreign cultures, we fund our oppression. And now you got to think about it. How can we gain any momentum if we as a people continue to practice culture that does not immediately have effect on us as a people? You understand what I'm saying? If we keep practicing culture that doesn't have an immediate effect on us, it has an adverse effect on us. And this means that we as a people can never gain the momentum that we pray for until we what? Not really fight, but withdraw. Why I say we got to withdraw? The biggest secret that has not been told to black people about white people is that secretly, white people are not united. Why? White people tell you that black people are what? The minority. They mean percentage, small group of people, even though we know minority according to law means you have the mind of a child. That's why we shouldn't accept it. They'll tell us that we are the minority or the smallest group in America. If black people are the smallest group in America, and white people confirm this, and white people also say that black people are the biggest consumers, then that means secretly white people are parasites to black people, and every single group of white people are preying on us as consumers. P-R-E-Y. Okay? Why? That's a big secret. Because we thought we had to fight people to destroy the system. All we have to do is withdraw from using the system as much as possible. That's all that means. What does that mean? Pull your children out of public school. Homeschool them. It's not illegal. What does that mean? Stop giving birth to your children in the hospital. Withdraw. You say you fall back a little bit. You fall back because they told us a secret that they should have never told us, that we never caught on. That we are the minority yet the biggest consumers. How could the smallest group of people on the land be the biggest shoppers? So this means that white people don't support white people. This means all white people are collecting their welfare check in the form of black consumers. You dig what I'm saying? So if we should stop consuming, if you really want to hurt a devil, hurt him in his pockets. You can try to cut one and kill one and shoot one. We ain't gonna win it that way. But I bet you what, they wouldn't even have another set of money to bring guns into the country if we just fell back and abstained from simple services that we get from them every day that is not difficult to abstain from. If we refrain from utilizing certain services that we don't necessarily need. Don't tell me that our Amish community can live without as much as resources as we live with day to day. And tell me that we can't abstain from something. You can do without a little newspaper, you can do without a little coffee. You can do without your child being in school, you just have to take the time out.
Teach.
Peace.
Teach.
You can do without it. You just have to go back and start studying. I'm not speaking in a contradictory manner. I'm speaking because I homeschool my children. And it was hard. And I dropped out of school in 10th grade. But my wives and I got together and we applied ourselves to make sure that not only can we implement that which they need to know by standard, but also what we deem it necessary for our children to know. Because when our children go to school, they're not taught that's not how you talk to a brother. That's not how you talk to a sister. Their attitude is, I'm gonna get paid anyway. If y'all don't wanna listen, do what y'all do. That's the attitude. Our children have to be taught by someone that sees them as a family member. This whole world is ruled by families. Again, your Illuminati, your banks, those are all euphemisms and synonyms for the actuality that is the world is ruled by families. So when you see Obama and you say, hey, when you see Obama, it's free for questions. When you see President Obama and you say, yo, he's a black president? No. He's a family member of a group that is known by a bunch of devious names. Number one being Illuminati. Number two being the bankers. He's the CEO of America. America's a corporation. He's just a CEO. You know what I'm saying? If you really want to get the boss, you go for the CFO.
agree with you with one thing.
Go ahead.
They talk about gentrification going on in Harlem. What you said, if they stop going to these stores, they can shut Harlem down tomorrow.
That's right. Waiting online for sneakers
That's right.
in
Yeah.
the rain?
Tell them.
But you know what they're doing also?
Come on, man.
But what else are they doing? They pushing that interracial nonsense because
Oh,
10,
yes.
12 years old today thinking, well, in 2000, right? They didn't really know. They pushed that in soap operas, TV shows, and everything
That's
else.
right. That's right.
Now you think 19, 20, 21 years today, they think it's all right, white and black and all. We grew up in Harlem, we dated the finest sisters, Latin, Caribbean, wherever. Now today they think that's all right. So 10 years from now, you have a bunch of mulattoes around here that's gonna be like, I'm more of this that's working for me than this, creating another problem amongst race and condition in our mindset here. That's what they're doing now. They're using that as a tool and a weapon. I don't mean to cut you with I got a question.
Go
But
ahead, my brother.
That's a serious tool. Race mix.
You got a question?
What do you offer? I mean, not as a full solution, but
Understand?
what is the game plan for starting a solution based on what we're up against, as far as what our youth are up against?
I got you.
Being
I understand.
a couple of key points, what they're up against. They're pushing this homosexual thing huge now. They pushing it like it's
Race mixing and homosexual.
He right in my mind right there. I was about to say
They got
that.
posters by the bus, man. And I want to take a stencil.
And they
myself,
trying to make black
and I wanna
people accept
spray,
it.
I want to spray them like this, not in Harlem or something. Or you know,
Yes,
when I was growing up, a faggot couldn't walk down the street in front of us. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm.
He right.
I'm really not sorry if I'm offending anybody because it's not right.
you know what?
But anyway,
Let him go, let him
that's
finish. Let
That's
him go
one
in.
point. That's
You're
one
right.
point.
You're
That's
right.
one
Mixing your
point.
seed.
That
Mixing your seed.
That's the one point that the youth is facing. Being this game thing being pushed
And
on
they
them.
push it in the schools,
Another
too.
thing
That's
is
right.
when we was growing up, hip hop was hip hop, and we loved it because people knew how. It was the battle of wits and battle of the smartest. And how can I convey the best message to y'all? How can I be smarter than my opponent?
That's
that
right.
was hip hop. That was hip hop used to be about. And it sprung a whole bunch of things. But they pushing this hip hop on us now. It's ridiculous. It's garbage. It's garbage. All they talk about is women, guns, drugs,
Yo, give me
and how many cars they got, and jewelry. That's all
right.
they talk about. And they're not being held responsible for it.
That's right.
They're not
He don't
being
want
called
to
out
see the
on it.
woman.
They're not being called out on it either. So we got the music, this homosexual thing, and then education.
That's right.
Education.
All right, let him deal with that. Let him get it in.
Well, like I said, the
Deal with that
number.
homosexuality shit too.
Oh yeah, we're gonna rock that. But you see, what is the biggest tool? We gotta remember this. What is the biggest tool that the devil uses? That they never tell us. Now you see, they tell us a story. Oh, we punch y'all in your face and we took your land. So you know, naturally, what we're gonna do as reactionary people when we should be proactive, let's punch them back in their face and get our land. That's the story they taught you about us. But what is the real story? They sat there and they planned meticulously. They found out what colors we respond to. They found out what foods that we eat. They found out which ones are more conducive for us to break down digestively and which ones aren't. Okay? So they know that the potato breaks us down. And they know that 75% of Caucasoids can break a potato down better than a Nubian. They found out, oh, feed them all the white foods instead of the white rice. Pardon me, they said feed them the white rice, feed them the white potato, feed them the white sugar, feed them the white flour. You understand? They said feed them all the white foods, right? But subtly, we never knew that white is not right. Now that sounds racist. But in actuality, instead of white rice, white potato, white sugar, white salt, white flour, we should be having amaranth flour, kamut flour. We should be having, I'm gonna answer your question because this goes into it because the mind can't be right if the body isn't right. You understand what I'm saying? So when you allow your oppressor to feed you your food, you are dealing with a major level of warfare. When your oppressor is the one that supplies your food and your oppressor is the one that gives you your education, there's no way in hell we could come out and be free. In order for us to come out of it, again, we would rather want the black rice, the black potato, the black salt, the red salt. You understand? That's some examples, all right? But when your oppressor is responsible for the way you eat, he gives you a food pyramid, and he never built a pyramid in his life. But he gives you a food pyramid. You understand? And then you say, we gotta follow this. And if you saw the original food pyramid, there was bitter foods in there, because bitters correspond with B17, and B17 diffuses the potential of cancer cells, okay? But now you don't see no bitters in there. And all you see is nothing but mucus. that it comes as an end result of drinking milk, which is allowed to have over 750,000 somatic cells, a euphemism for pus, 24,000 live bacteria, and it's also pasteurized, a way in which they prolong the shelf life of a food through radiation. And if you get radiated foods, you're likely to get cancer and be susceptible to that and more. So we understand that in order for us to be free as a people, we got to stop allowing people to dictate to us what is the right type of foods for us to eat. We have to be free of that. Secondly, in order for us to get out of the situation, we need only this: food, clothing, and shelter. We have something coming up called focusing, and part of the main acronyms for that is food, clothing, and shelter. All we need is to keep it simple. We don't have to live as high as the beast. We can get that with momentum and time. All we have to do is refrain from patronizing the beast, and the only way we can do that is if we come up with common customs that that new covenant has. We have our own common customs. The way in which a man engages a woman, the way in which a woman engages a man, the food that we eat, the schooling. We cannot allow somebody that has enslaved us. That's one thing we all agree on. We all agree we've been enslaved for 300 years. Some say 400 years. Some say 6,000 years. Some say 600. But one thing black people can all agree on, 300 plus. All right? Now, the question is this. The question is this. If we've been enslaved for 300 plus years, why would we allow the person that enslaved us for 300 years to educate our children? Why would you allow? What kind of people with self-pride and integrity allows a species that enslaved you for 400 years? Enslaved you for 400 years, and we turn around and say, well, let my children be educated about it. Do you think a pale Jew will allow a German to educate their children for even 5 minutes? Do you think a pale Jew would allow a German to push their child in a stroller and babysit them? Do you think a pale Jew can be hired to push another baby's child, a German's child? You see, black people have been enslaved for hundreds of years by who they call the devil, who they call a mutant, who they call an oppressor. But if you really felt like that, we would not trust a beast, a devil, or a mutant to teach our children. Because when they teach your children come back home as agents. Now, people say, but it's hard. And I don't have the time, and I don't have the money. But we're only talking about a devil. You know what I'm saying? We're only talking about a devil. We're only talking about a beast. We're only talking about a mutant. We're only talking about a gravitation. But when you say homeschool your child, it's difficult. This is only your child, and that's only a devil. So I'm saying if we built the pyramids, and we are the fathers and mothers of mathematics and science around the world, why the excuses when it's come time to free ourselves? Freeing ourselves doesn't even mean we have to pick up a gun. All we have to do is make the right educated decision. And that's what culture gives you, the least adverse effects from the decisions that you make. Because when you have a culture, at a certain age, you become responsible for yourself. If you don't have a culture to define that by way of a rites of passage, then you are at loss, and you wind up with 40-year-old children and 50-year-old children. If you go into the Jewish community again, I do this because really they stole a lot of your culture. So even though you hear me referencing them, it's only because they stolen your birthright. All right? So when you look at the Judaic community, at age 12, there's a bat mitzvah, a daughter of the commandments. And at age 13, there's a bar mitzvah, a son of the commandments. And at that age, they are taught what? We are held accountable for the decisions we make, and the only other intercessor is the Creator. That's what we're taught. So now, that's what they're taught at that young age. But at our age, we are taught to be gang members. You dig what I'm saying? At our age, you got older boys and older girls at 40 and 50 teaching their children to be gang members. And unfortunately, because the mother and the father are not around because they're too busy working and in conflict with each other, we lose our children to the streets. You understand what I'm saying? We're losing our children to the streets because the streets raised me. The time that I did and being in prison and being in Rikers and all that, I had to use what information I was given by my good brothers, my family, my street family, which was the Crips. And I became Crips Superior. Why? That was my first organization. And I gotta love them because they was a stepping stone. Because when I have a mother in the house, 'cause I met my mother when I was 17, she died the week when I met her. And my father left us at age 8. And the only thing that I had left when I became homeless was the Crip gang. And when I went to school, I was mocked and I was ridiculed because I didn't have the right sneakers and I didn't have the right shirt and I didn't have the right pants. And after a while, when the sisters make fun of you in front of other brothers, you know, the ego of the mind. So I became my own kind of Yakub. And I started learning how to get some coke, get some fish kale, cook it up, it's too much cut, throw it in the water, put the ice in there, come back. I learned all that. But you know what? Secretly, I was a chemist at heart. But I was under the wrong conditions and circumstances. So I deviated from my DNA. Secretly, all of us are brilliant. But if we are under these hell-bound conditions, you see the worst come out of us. You're still going to be a scientist if you're meant to be one. You're just going to be a wicked scientist. You're still meant to be a teacher if you're meant to be one. You're just going to be a wicked teacher.
What's the name of your group?
New Covenant.
New Covenant. Let me ask you something.
Go ahead, my brother.
Has a strategy to begin to get people interested in reconditioning us as black people. We need to be reconditioned.
That's right.
Right now we are heavily conditioned from birth.
That's to lead by example. For instance, my brother here, not only did, how long you been New Covenant? 6 months. And he just went out, 3 weeks ago and bought property with his wife. Under the teachings that New Covenant provides to get your property for little to no money with no mortgage. That's a big thing, buying houses or buying timeshares or buying land with no mortgage. And he used his sovereign status. Many of us are talking about sovereignty, but we're not able to use the paperwork for nothing. We just walk around looking like we're somebody on paper, but it's not respected, identified, and no circumstances change. With New Covenant, when you change your status, not only are there social and political advantages, there are real estate and tax benefits that come with it. So my brother went out there, and in addition to that, the New Covenant science also teaches to home births, to have home births. Now I asked his brother, where was his child born? His child's about 3 weeks, 4 weeks old now. Where was your child born? And what was your inspiration? New Covenant. It's the program. So we're not going to be doing that birth certificate stuff over and over. You see, we like to go to the hospital and tell them, we ain't dealing with that birth certificate. Why not just not go to the hospital and leave that argument alone? Where is that? Now you might say, but we're going to get locked up if we don't get a birth certificate. No, you get a sovereign affidavit of nativity. You make a declaration of a sovereign affidavit of nativity. That's what we do. And we record the birth like a title. We record the birth as if we're dealing with a property. You understand? We record it like a deed.
Just like they do.
Exactly. We record the birth like a deed. Okay? And we put it on an online public registry as well, amongst many other copies that we suspend into this American construct. So everybody's put on record. Now you may say, man, you'll get locked up for that. But I'm a leading example because my child was born at home. My child has a sovereign affidavit of nativity. And I recorded my child's birth as a deed. The same way they did with yours, because if you look on the birth certificate, there's a QSIP, and that QSIP is an acronym for Committee on Uniform Security's Identification Procedure. They are making money off your life in the form of birth. They're making money off your death. If you look at your death certificate, there's a QSIP there. They're making money off your relationship. If you look at your marriage contract, you will see a QSIP there. And they will tell you that you cannot divorce if you owe property taxes on your property. What does your property taxes have to do with you in a relationship if someone's beating the hell out of you? They'll tell you, well, put that on standby. Make sure you relieve or you redeem. As far as those property taxes concerned, those delinquent property taxes, pay those and then we'll give you the divorce. So what does that monetary essence have to do with the covenant that a man has with a woman? So when we say take matters into our own hands, what we're saying is stop funding your oppression. When you get an indictment, that's a bill of exchange. That's a form of commerce. You see, all laws are commercial. If you go to 27 CFR, okay, that's the Code of Federal Regulations. If you go to 27 CFR 27.11, okay, you'll find what? You'll find that, 72.11. If you go to 27 CFR 72.11, you'll find that all crimes are commercial. You'll find that all crimes are commercial. And again, if you go to the House Joint Resolution 192, March 9th, 1933, okay, 73rd Congress, Session 1, Chapter 1, page 73, page 83, you'll find what? First paragraph, third sentence, that they have no gold, they have no silver, and in turn they had to pledge to label the people while giving them full disclosure in order to pay back their debt. So they have your name represented in all caps whenever they're dealing with you on a commercial standpoint or basis. And when they do stuff like that, they're confirming that you are dead. They're confirming that you're dead. That's why them brothers that got child support in New York, peep how not only do they put your name in all caps, which represents a trust created by the state in order for them to pay back their debt, they put your name backwards first. They put your last name first. Where else do you see that? You see that on the cemetery. They put your last name first because they're considering you and the mother dead. So what they'll do, they'll issue child support on you without even telling the mother or the father that they're having a hearing because they consider the mother dead. You understand? As the debtor. So we have to confirm that we are alive. We have to confirm that we live. Now people say, this paperwork, this beast ain't gonna sit down to this paperwork, but that's a lie. Because if the beast didn't care about the paperwork, he wouldn't ask you to sign before you get convicted to go to prison. Before they can sell your prison labor as a mortgage-backed security, they have to get your permission because you can't make an unconscionable decision. According to commerce, that's illegal. So before they can sell your bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond, and they consolidate it and create a mortgage-backed security, and this means what? Every time one of us get locked up and go to prison, we represent the payment for a failed mortgage. We represent the payment for a failed mortgage. Every time somebody, so there's a direct correlation between foreclosures and what? Imprisonment. Privatized prisons is a business that makes money over people's incarceration. We have to see, this is why it's so important to turn around and say, look, we gotta find a way to buy houses without a mortgage. Because a mortgage is set up to take advantage of subprimes, people that they know by analytics cannot pay the debt. They got you figured out before you even signed the contract. They know that you cannot afford to pay for that mortgage inside of 2 to 3 years. So they say give it to them, because they already got an underwriter right there waiting called the Corrections Corporation of America. The underwriter is the surety. The surety is like an insurance company that says any event this person doesn't pay, we'll pay back the money, but just give us a cut. Right. So what happens is the commercial bank, right? The commercial bank does this. You got the commercial bank, right? And then aside from the commercial bank, you got what? Investment bank. So you got the commercial bank and you got the investment bank. And people go over here and say, look, I need a loan for a house in the form of a mortgage. So they say, I got you $200,000. Every 5 people, it's $1 million. Right? Every 5 people, it's $1 million. And what the commercial bank does, they wait until they get about 1 billion people, and they create a bond that represents, they get a bond that represents $1 billion in debt. That's what they do. They keep, and what they're doing is servicing the loans for the investment bank. So what they're doing, they're working over commission. They're saying, yo, I'm gonna get mad debt from the black community. This is what I'm gonna do. And when I get it up to $1 billion, or I get up to $500 million, I'm gonna turn it over to you. But I want real money in exchange for these debts. So they give over $1 billion. They say, yo, can you just give me back $250,000 for every billion? And the investment bank says, yeah. So the investment bank gives them real money because the commercial bank doesn't have the capital to wait 30 years for a fixed rate mortgage to potentially go through. You know what I'm saying? Because chances are 30 years, it's not going to work out. Remember, mortgage is what? Mort means death. Engage means pledge or agreement. So that means you make an agreement until the day you die. That means your whole mind is not going to be preoccupied with spirituality. You're going to be working to keep that physical house. So people say, I'm teaching something adverse to spirituality. No, I'm not. I'm trying to get you out of that 30-year loop. Out of that student loan for $10,000, out of that mortgage for $300,000, out of that credit card debt for $15,000. We have to teach the economics to get to our spirituality. Otherwise, you're going to be working 2-3 jobs and you won't even have the esteem. You'll be fatigued. You'll fall down and do a raka'at and you won't come back up. You'll be making salat and you won't come back up because you'll be tired. So what happens is they get this bond, they service the loans to the investment bank, and what the investment bank does, they create a corporation. And what they do, they break this corporation up into shares. And they sell bonds. But these bonds have to have sureties to indemnify them. how do you indemnify a bond? Through a surety. A surety is an insurance company for the most part. So investors say, I know you got credibility because you're an investment bank and you created this corporation, but can you confirm that in the event this money doesn't work out because something goes wrong, you're going to pay the money? They say, yes, we can confirm. If something doesn't go right, you're always going to make your money 100% of the time. They say, how do you do that? Well, we got another thing over here. This thing over here is who?
The water.
Corrections Corporation of America. The correctional facility is actually playing a role as a surety on your behalf because your prison number is really an account number. So what they're doing is saying, look, we're going to make you work and for free or for very little, and you might get, when you get up to $5, they might have made $5,000 off your labor. And that's why when you're sentenced, they get you to sign bonds, which means what? You're being sued because a bond is a debt obligation. They get you to sign a bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond. They combine it, and the Corrections Corporation, after they give you a prison number, which is an account number, they are the surety for these investors. So the reason why these investors are willing to invest money from the investment bank that got their money from the commercial bank in the form of a bond is because the corrections facility says anytime somebody doesn't pay back their mortgage, which is out of the commercial bank's hands, the commercial bank's job is just to get suckers. And they turn it over to investment bank. Now, if the money doesn't work out, the investment bank hits up the surety, which is the Correction Corporation of America, and say, yo, give me all the people that's doing 10 and 15 years for murder. Because it's like even when you look at Dr. York, for every count that he got, okay, there's a $5 million bond per count. You understand what I'm saying? So if he had over 100 counts, they're making that money every day until he dies in prison. Okay, that's the presumption. That's what they do to everybody else. Now, you see, before you go to court, before you get convicted, they ask you something very important. Because people say, all this paperwork, nah, that's not real. The white man don't listen to that. Listen to me. Listen to this carefully. America is a corporation. You can see that Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, amongst many other things. 1913 Federal Reserve Act, amongst many things. House Joint Resolution 192, March 9, 1933, 73rd Congress, Session 1, Chapter 1, first paragraph, third sentence, page 83, doesn't matter. Many things confirm that America is in debt and America's a corporation. Point blank. Corporations have to follow laws. Point blank. All you have to do is snitch on a corporation if they're doing the wrong thing to their superior. Corporations have laws. Secondly, if they didn't care about your signature or your sign of nature, why when before you get convicted they ask you something before you start signing? Is anybody forcing you to do this? Are you under any drugs or medication? You know why? Because you cannot make an unconscionable decision when it comes to securities. Before they can sell your contract, they have to know that you are willing to sign that contract. The biggest fault that we have, we be signing things that we don't understand. So they say, yo, is anybody forcing you to do this? And you say no, and you start signing? Hell yeah, you being forced. You want to go to prison? I'm being forced. Who? Who's forcing you? My attorney, my lawyer, my judge? I don't want disagreement. You gotta tell the truth. You gotta, don't sign nothing. People say, but if I don't, you gotta know how to close or collapse the bond. Don't sign nothing. Now people say, well, you know, that sound fly. I was locked up for murder, fam. So I'm not trying to teach people how to get away from murder. Let me put that on the record. You know what I'm saying? Because that's gonna be there. I'm not trying to get you a get out of jail free card. But my community knows. The community knows I defended myself. My wife, Aminette, where's she at? Where's Aminette at? Alright, she went to the bathroom. My wife, Aminette, was the one doing the paperwork for me while I was in prison. My wife, because she was studying with me when I was studying. And I got off through my secure party status. You understand what I'm saying? Because all of this is about commerce. All of this is about commerce. It's all about commercial transactions. That's what all of this is about. You understand what I'm saying? So you go in there and you say, look, you can't do this to me. I'm a Washita or I'm a Taino. They say have him checked out, have his head checked out. They do that a lot to our brothers. You know why? Because they say, look, we trying to get money from you and you over here telling us who you related to. That ain't got nothing to do with the situation.
But you're trying to implement.
You're trying to invoke nationality.
You're trying to invoke your jurisdiction, right?
Exactly.
That's your jurisdiction.
That's what you're trying to do. But the way in which we gotta go about it, we gotta first make a distinction amongst us and that straw man, the transmitting utility. This is my wife right here. When I was locked down, you heard? This is my wife right here. When I was locked down, she was the one that did the paperwork when everybody was saying, get a lawyer. Mars. It was like, yo, we love you, bro. We feel you. The knowledge is hot and everything, but yo, we just hired you an attorney and everything. I'm like, yo, why you did that? She was the only one that stayed firm. She understood that indictment was a bill of exchange. She understood that information, and she helped me fight that case, and I got out inside. I got out October 31st when I got my disposition. I was locked up September 19th. You know what I'm saying? And in that span of time, I got out. You know, and I can never forget those dates because, you know, that.
It's significant.
Yeah, Halloween, and that was, and September 19th was the first time I ever taught a class anyway in my life. So I won't forget it just because my life was on the line. And what they do, they play psychological games, and they say that, come on, baby. They play psychological games, and they say, what we gonna do? I thought I was locked up for one thing, and when I went in there, I had 12 counts.
Right.
You know why they give you counts? Because if you're relying on the man and woman that doesn't understand law, their first assumption is, if you get accused of 12 things, you had to do one of them. And that's what they did with Dr. York. They said hit him with 100 counts, because you know what black people gonna say? He had to do one of those things. So all we have to do is accuse you of 200, 100 things, 50 things, and the average mind is going to say he had to do one of those things. And even when the FBI lead witness confirmed that they're lying and it was coerced by the FBI, by that time black people didn't give a hell. They was mad that he was teaching information that was adverse to their religion. They go to hell. The white man was the devil and he was a liar, up until the point they locked up a brother that had a difference in opinion in your religion. All of a sudden the white man was telling the truth. That's how we are as a people. That's why we got to go back to having common customs. This whole system revolves around our lack of knowledge and commerce.
I think when you say, make a point that you made earlier, go back to one of the points you made earlier about us not spending so much or pulling back from spending with other communities and start spending with ourselves. That's a very difficult thing to do right now, but it can be done. It's a very difficult thing to do, and it's the right thing to do, but it can be done. But
you're absolutely right.
How do you propose when you tell people to withdraw from buying from certain people, then you have to offer them an alternative. You know, you have to offer them an alternative so they can say, okay, I'm going to do what the brother said. I'm going to do my part. I'm not going to buy from these people, but where am I going to go buy? Am I going to go outside my neighborhood and spend with somebody else who's going somewhere else? You know, so we gotta go back to that.
Well,
we gotta own our own stuff, man.
Let me go back to that.
Our own property.
When you come back into the new covenant, when you come back to what we are and what we represent in the new covenant, we understand that the biggest problem is having a black organization that's asking you to support them, asking you for donations. And where do the donations come from? Hard-working black people that work for white people. So this means that after you pay your light, your gas, your phone bill, you pay your mortgage, after you pay your rent, whatever the case may be, you're gonna have to turn around and give a smaller portion to the black community to stop the white people that have given you a job. That's hustling backwards. So in the new covenant, we understand something new has to happen with the black organization. What the black, and I'm using black for the sake of context, what the black community or black organization has to do now is be able to give employment to the people that join them. We have to start making commercial subscriptions as well as spiritual convictions. You understand what I'm saying? We can't just be saying, I'm gonna join you to get my spiritual thing on, and while I'm sitting with you, don't even consider making no money with me in the process. That's the change, because we're gonna say white people the devil, and they're providing, like Target and Walmart alone, provide over 100,000 jobs for black people. They're allowing black people to even have a chance to buy a book for their child. The black community is not providing that much of a chance in the church or in a black conscious Pan-African, kill the cracker, this beast, all you understand is war. Those guys are not making no money. And the more they don't make money, the more angry and the more violent they're gonna come off when they start trying to teach. Because they're politically, socially, educationally, and financially frustrated. With New Covenant, Like for instance, on August 12th, you're gonna see the flyer be pulled up on this video and the lights. On August 12th, what do we have? We have a proficiency exam that our members are taking on August 12th at the National Black Theater. Why are they taking this? Oh yeah, these are the flyers for it actually. If you're interested in becoming a midwife, that's a service that you can make money off of while providing something to diffuse the potential of the oppression that we're facing. If you're interested in marrying couples, a nuptial curate of the New Covenant, you take that proficiency exam that the New Covenant is giving out. If you're interested in becoming a mortgage specialist to help people that are dealing with foreclosures, or to try to help people get HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, the equity of the house so you can reinvest it into something hopefully in enough time before that window closes and the interest doesn't get you, you take the proficiency exam. If you're interested in becoming and engaging in debt discharge, what's that? Yeah, I said midwife. Debt discharge, student loans, for instance. If you want to diffuse student loans, these are classifications. These are occupations that we hire members of our community to have. They make their money. They make good money, and status correction as well. If you're interested in becoming one of our caseworkers, when you join our community, you get a caseworker that walks you through the whole process, step by step. From the time you come in, you get a status correction to make a distinction amongst you and the transmit utility. You establish a transmit utility link. You get a caseworker that not only sees to it that your paperwork is done, but they make sure they teach you in a process while the paperwork is done. You understand? And then when you have investment ideas, they work with you. They train by me and they work with you. He actually just got hired, him and his wife, to be the New Covenant concierge. They deal with anytime people want to fly, anytime people want to get a rental, or anytime people need an emergency accommodation or a general accommodation, like in the case of vacation or something. They are a New Covenant concierge because we have the means in which we can facilitate that.
Why don't you take this time out real quick to talk about some of the books you have written?
Oh yeah.
Some of your material. You know what I'm saying? Just in case somebody would like to take home something, brother.
Well, also, well, like I was saying, as
you wrote all those books?
Yeah, I wrote 75 books thus far. I'm releasing book 75.
Okay.
Actually, 76 is going to be released, but we don't count the ones exclusively for the community. I don't have book numbers.
Do you have any books over there that teaches you how to homeschool your child? Because a lot of us are afraid to do that because of ACS, right? Don't they get involved in that?
That's right.
Talk about ACS. So how should somebody go about doing that, brother?
I got the steps right up in here. Can you come in close, baby? Can you outthink your oppressor? Okay, learn how to play chess off the board. I got about 30, 40 pages in there that help you through the process to homeschool your children.
How much are they?
They range from 25 to 35. Peace, my brother. What's your name?
Khalid.
Khalid, I really appreciate you, my brother.
No problem, no problem.
Oh, you chop it up. You got.
I can get in touch with you through here?
Yeah, our phone number right here. You give me contact right over there.
I got it in my back
All
pocket.
right. Thanks for the insight, my brother.
No problem, man. Thank
I appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, my brother.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're interested in learning how to buy the house, learning how to sign the contract, learning how to protect the asset so you can get no mortgage, no protest, and no jurisdiction, the book is self-explanatory.
Right.
Because you got to have a curriculum as well. So in New Covenant, we have lessons, we have a curriculum, because when you join a black community and they don't have no books as a curriculum, everybody that joins the organization has to go out to read something that's relatively close to what you're teaching. Thus there's confusion amongst the membership. Now, we're not saying don't study things outside of it. We're saying we have a curriculum for our children and we have a curriculum for the adults. When they come in, you can find where you're set at. Everything, we have language books as well, because language helps produce the capacity to remember information as well as the capacity to evaluate arithmetic, because when you speak tonal languages, it produces more neurons, and neurons connect with other neurons to create dendrites, and in turn sews the brain together. You understand? So you have one part of the brain, it's the left side of the brain. It deals with science, reading, math. The right side of the brain deals with emotion, art, music, and you'll find sometimes people say no words can express what I feel, because they haven't made a connection between the words on the left side of the brain and the expression on the right. When you speak tonal languages, it causes the neurons on one side to connect with the neurons on the other side, and in turn it sews the brain together. What's a genius? Scientifically speaking, a genius is a whole brain thinker, one that uses the cerebral left and the cerebral right of the brain. Most of us are influenced by the tilt of the planet Earth. That's why you find on this side of the hemisphere, we're more likely to be right-handed. You go to Europe, you'll find we're more likely to be left-handed. You come over here, the steering wheel's on the left side. You go on the other side, the steering wheel's on the right. You come over here, when we want to get people spiritual, we speak, we pray, and we do lectures, right? When you go to the other side of the world, they meditate and they breathe. You find on this side of the world that we are suffering from obesity. You go on the other side of the world, you find that they're skinny as hell. There's not an accident. You look at the toilet bowl, it's going clockwise over here. You go to the other side of the world, it's going counterclockwise. A lot of us are influenced by the 23.5-degree tilt of the planet, and it changed since the tsunami. So time even has been affected. A lot of us are impressed by the sway of the planet Earth, so we have to work harder to try to use the other side of the brain. Most of us are left side brain thinkers over here, and most people on the other side of the world, the right side thinkers over there. That's why they're meditating and they're breathing, and we over here talking, teaching, and praying. You can't do one without the other. If you pray, you're sending information out. You want to pray and you want to meditate. But over here, we pray, and over there, they meditate exclusively. You want to pray to send the information out, and you want to meditate to receive. If you meditate without prayer, you're going to receive someone else's answers. You might get out there and beat your wife or do something crazy. You want to receive that what you put out there, because if you drop a rock in the water, the source of impact oscillates outward, and then the waves come back into its original source. You understand what I'm saying? So we have tones that go into that kind of dynamics. We actually teach you how to evaluate arithmetic without the use of a calculator. Actual mathematics. A lot of us say supreme mathematics, but if I ask them to draw a Cartesian plane to show me an X and Y axis, or if I plotted out some points and said create a quadratic equation from the points I plotted on the graph, they would be null and void. But they'll tell you they deal with supreme mathematics and they built the earth and y'all cool graphed to somebody else. I'm not trying to knock nobody, but we should learn how to evaluate real arithmetic too. That's the only way we're really going to be able to be credible sources to homeschool our children. Aside from that, we also have numerology, solar numerology, where we combine the elements of astrology, what people call astrology, and numerology through actual arithmetic. You understand what I'm saying? Through actual arithmetic. Meaning, for instance, Leo corresponds with the number 1. Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun corresponds with the number 1. The number 8 is ruled by Saturn. You understand? So now we know on the chart that 1 and 8 is 180 degrees from each other. Much like the sun and Saturn are 180 degrees from each other, which means they are natural opposites, or they're in opposition. If a person was born on August 8th, right? If you was born on August 8th, what happened is Leo is ruled by the sun, and the sun corresponds with the number 1. So what we do, we convert the celestial body into numbers, or we convert the numbers into the celestial bodies. That's solar numerology, when you create a composite amongst the bodies and the actual mathematics behind them. So if the Leo corresponds with the number 1, because Leo's ruled by the sun, the sun corresponds with 1. And I'm born on the 8th of August, and 8 corresponds with Saturn, and Saturn and the sun are the natural opposition of each other. Like December 21st, the winter solstice, the Saturn appears to be greater or higher than the sun. It appears to be ruling over the sun. That's the dynamics. If you are a Leo 8, that means you deal with internal conflict. That means you deal with self-doubt, and you can't be around other people that cause you to infer more doubt about yourself than you already have in you. That's going to be a light path to get rid of the doubt and the doubters that come around you, because 1 and 8 are in opposition to each other. So if you find that you are a Leo, correspond with 1, and you are an 8, correspond with Saturn, and 1 correspond with Sun, you see you got a Sun personality. The celestial body is your personality, and the number of the day of the month that you're born is your mentality. This means that your mentality is in conflict with your personality, so you can't afford to deal with people that infer doubt. That's called solar numerology. That's in this tone. You know, it goes in deep, and I go through every combination that you can see. So we're not limited to the economic information. However, we're saying we are the most credible source for a lot of that metaphysical information. Why? Because a lot of the people that read palms and read feet and tell you who's the best woman in your life, when you ask them how do I make money, they go blank. So they know how to tell the future, they know how to tell the past and the present, they know who's the best woman for you, but when you ask them, how come you yourself are broke, if you know all these things, they don't have an answer. You dig what I'm saying? Now, if you ask me, I'll tell you, I use my midhaven as a cheat code, because I understand I'm a Gemini ascendant, which means that I have a diversity of things to say, and I can articulate myself and be in several different subject matters. That's why I wrote 75 plus books on several different subject matters, whether it's math, whether it's science, whether it's language, whether it's economics, whether it's law. You see that Gemini is working. That's my ascendant. That's the way people perceive me. Now, oftentimes the biggest misconception about astrology is wherever your sun is at, that's actually your sign. That is not true. wherever your planets are the most, that's your greatest influence. So like me, for instance, my sun was in Leo, how I have more planets in Virgo. Virgo deals with, that's the house of analytics, analysis. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I wear the coat of a Leo, so that means I have no problem being the center of attention, or I wouldn't be afraid to stand out in front and talk to people because my sun was in Leo. But in actuality, my true sign is Virgo because most of my planets were in the Virgo constellation when I was born. So this means that I will have that in me, innate ability or inherited ability in me to heal. Because Virgo deals with healing, it deals with analysis, for instance. So now if you go into analysis, which is also inclusive of reading, you'll see that by nature, I should be dealing with analyzing things, reading things, dealing with a diversity of things based on my ascendant, Gemini, and then as a Leo, being a leader or want to be in the forefront, I should definitely be out here teaching that which I analyze. So you put all that together, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And again, the midhaven is actually the part of your chart that tells you what it suffices to do as an occupation. You can do whatever it is that you like to do, and you can probably look real good doing it. But until you do what cosmically was ordained for you to do, you're going to be at loss, and you're never going to get as much as success as you really want. And that's why it's important for us to do things in conformity with the heavens. Even the Navy makes sure they use astrology before they war against another people. Even Richard Nixon said that he ruled the government with astrology. Even Donald Trump confirmed before he makes an investment, he consults his astrologer. Now, we will come here, and when I start talking astrology, what we call solar numerology, because we use mathematics to confirm their astrology. When I talk it, people say, oh man, we don't need that. But what I do, I make sure that I'm living proof of what I'm talking about. My wife over here is a Cancer. You understand what they call Cancer? Cancer is what? Cancer is the embodiment of domestication, which means what? My wife should be dealing with real estate. You see how that works? We have to be able to use the charts. So anything where I may fall weak in real estate wise, because I'm polygynist, I get to cheat and I get to use the different zodiacal frequencies of each one of my wives to my advantage as they get to use me to their advantage. That's how a family works. All of us represent a celestial body. So all of us have to be in alignment. So sometimes people say, yo, how come the other wife, like my wife out there, she's on the grind giving out the flyers. They say, how come the other wife don't sit next to you and this and the third? One, we have a culture, and two, we deal with astrology. Okay, so the way we even sit with each other, there's a certain alignment. You might have saw me a couple times pull in a little closer. Because with Cancer and Leo, if I don't pull in a little closer, she's going to give me an attitude later on. This wife over here is not going to do that. This wife over here, we have a stronger connection emotionally to each other. We are emotionally linked to each other. So that's going to create strife if her and I are not close enough to each other. I'm going to be uncomfortable. She's going to be uncomfortable. That's zodiacal law. You understand what I'm saying? So when we look at these different dynamics, because what happens is, if you look at Leo to Cancer is sextile. What does that mean? Leo to Cancer means that we're inside of 60 degrees from each other, which means there's a closer connection with us. We're inside 60 degrees from each other. It's not like I'm dealing with an Aquarius, okay, like my daughter. I can be away and she's not gonna feel like my father's ignoring me. You know why? Because Leo and Aquarius have 180 degrees apart from each other. So we can deal with that separation for a longer period of time without her feeling like I'm not there for her as a father. My wife on the other end, we sextile. I have to be closer with her. I have to remind her. She has to remind me, yo, I'm gonna be back, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Whereas with other relationships, it doesn't have to be that intense or that punctuated, because zodiacally, each one of us represents the planets. You understand? So we are in alignment just like the planets. And that's why even the way that you sit, your seed arrangements produce different chemicals and different outcomes, just by the way you align with each other. So when people say, yo, how come this wife don't be here? Or how come she sits here? Or how come this one don't talk? Or this one? To go through all of that is not a problem. But at the end of the day, naysayers are just going to be like, that's BS. You know what I'm saying? So you just deal with the people that are faithful and true to the information, that they don't do it for exploitation. They do it for self-development and cultivation. In ancient cultures, they anthropomorphized that which was transpiring in the heavens and direct correspondence with us. But what people really need to take into consideration, there's really not a distinction between the two. each one of us is a personage of the very energies that's emanating from the planets. You know what I'm saying? So when you go to the Osiris and Isis or the Usia and Aset story or the Heru or Horus story, you'll find that whole story about the three wise men, the Eastern Star, which would be Isis or Aset, you'll find that there's a conflict of interest there. Okay? It's called exegesis or eisegesis, and in turn, we'll conclude it and call it the genes of Isis, or what they call Genesis. All right? There's an eisegesis, there's an exegesis, and there's a genes of Isis, which many call Genesis. What does this mean? Both of them actually exist. Now, if we studied the winter solstice, and we know that the sun appears to be on decline around December 21st, 22nd, 23rd, whatever the case may be, and we see that the sun winds up in the Crux constellation during the winter season, and we see that it appears to be going southern down the Crux constellation. Crux means cross. It appears to be a cross that you connect the dots. The sun appears to be going down on a cross. It sounds like sounds like the Jesus Christ story. Right. And then on December 25th, the sun goes up 1 degree. It actually appears to be resurrected. Okay, so we say, okay, wow, that's deep. Then after I go from astronomy class, and I learned this, and this is a natural occurrence that happens every day of the week, and we know that the three wise men, or the belt of Osiris, has to be in alignment when this takes place, right? And then we know that the Eastern Star has to be seen this time of year when this takes place. Other people in religion celebrate this as Christmas, and they call it an actual person. Now we say, so which one is which? Because if I go to astronomy class, I find out the Jesus story is an astrological representation of what is transpiring in the heavens. Well, the fact is this, both realities run concurrent. When the planets go through that orientation, so shall the people go through the same orientation. You see, they thought that Osiris was just an astrological story until they found the actual body, which was scary. Because now that you find the body, and you already knew that the planets go have a similitude to Osiris' story, but you find Osiris, you have to now confirm what? Either one was a lie, or both of them was the truth. And in this reality, both are the truth. You understand what I'm saying? The same energies, those planetary alignments, precipitate the organisms' lives that are here on planet Earth. So it's really not a distinction amongst the planets and us. The planets, those energies give birth to us. So in light of what the brother's saying, it's an absolute fact that we are not from here. In essence, there are parts of us that is from here. And yes, we have been physically born, but there's a correspondence between us and the heavens. And what connects us with the heavens is a cord that's called the vagus nervous system, which connects the heart to the brain. And it's the reason why we are able to project in the form of prayer information and anticipate it back, of course called the answer to the prayer, which is by contracting the bag around the heart called the pericardium. The pericardium in Greek means around the heart, and whenever you speak in specific tones or you have a certain desire, the bag around the heart contracts on side of the 7-star or 7-layer tetrahedron, and it causes one to project the electric field of their DNA onto the heavens, and in turn they get a response in the form of an answered prayer. The heart and the mind are connected to each other.
There are so many stories of the creation of man. Some people say that we water people. We come from the water, the ocean.
You know what the problem is, brother?
Go ahead, get into it.
I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. The problem is we've been taught to accept whoever has the flyest doctrine in terms of our nationality.
Whatever sound good.
Whatever sound fly.
Right.
So if I'm mad at white man and I got an inclination towards Judaism, Hebrew Israelites are just right for me. If I'm mad at the white man, but I don't really want to mess with too much of that religion, and I love the color black and I love Africa, Black Panthers might be right for me, or RBG might be right for me.
Right.
I'm not trying to limit any of these groups to a certain classification. I'm saying the people in general will accept the history that corresponds with the movements, ideologies, and goals.
Right.
Yet that is not the actual case. That's why I New Covenant, part of our nationality, medium or department, we say medium, is we make sure that people get a DNA test. Like for instance, I found out I'm Igbo from the Nigerian tribe, over 75% of my blood through DNA. I also found out I have the Kohen gene, which means I have a high priest gene of the ancient Hebrews. So according to the pale Jew that confirmed this gene called the Kohen gene, means priest, I should be able to go into their synagogue, kick their door down and say, yo, Y'all should get killed for leading the Day of Atonement because only the high priest is supposed to lead the Day of Atonement. And he's supposed to have the Kohen gene, which I have. So this also means that the black Hebrew Israelites that say that I'm the devil because I don't say the white man's the devil, they too should stop praying and they should bow down before me because I can prove by DNA I am the high priest. They as probably not legitimate Hebrews.
So the new covenant does this themselves?
Now,
do the DNA tests yourself?
We have a group of black people that are geneticists that we get the DNA testing from. They're an actual organization. We give you the website and they be good. They actually do the DNA testing. I'm coming right now, sister. So the point is this. You might not be linked to the people that you pray to by blood. That's the problem. I might come in and say, yo, I'm down with Islam, I'm down with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I could probably say that all I want. But then when I do my DNA test, I can see where my inclination is. My inclination is Nigeria, Africa, ancient Hebrew tribe. Now for me to go against that and accept what a man tells me by way of a book, it's a farce. You understand what I'm saying? So what I would suggest people to do, just because someone may break down the science of why one religion is more conducive for them, they might have an inclination towards that by blood. We don't always have the same inclinations that other people have. So if I go to the Hebrew Israelites right now and they say we the 12 tribes of Israel, and I ask them all the time, do y'all do a cotton swab to make sure someone's the tribe of Reuben or the tribe of Judah? They think I'm being facetious. I'm not trying to disrespect them. I'm saying, is there any kind of DNA testing? Or do y'all just say, if you agree with as we agree, then brother, you all 12 tribes? It don't work like that. You are one of the tribes. You might be a composite of some of the others through integration, but just because I agree with you doesn't mean that I should be confirmed as one of the 12 tribes of the Hebrew Israelites. It's 2012. We had that philosophy back in the days because we didn't have the knowledge accessible. Now we're here in 2012, we could do better than that. We don't have to guess what our nationality is, we can confirm it.
You have a question, the sister.
Okay, my question is, first I would like to say God is good.
God is definitely good. He's good all the time.
And you have to stay in the spirit. And do you often wonder, you know, by rejecting Jesus as your Lord and Savior, when you...
Said I rejected him.
Okay, as your Lord and Savior,
Go ahead, sis.
the Creator,
I love you. Go ahead.
the Creator of us. We are all sisters and brothers through Christ's blood.
That's
Jesus.
right. Now,
I reject it.
don't worry about it.
Okay.
I don't want her to run because
I reject them.
You sound like the Antichrist.
I reject them.
All right, but let me tell you something, sis.
But my question is, do you have any fear of when the flesh is gone, the flesh is dead, because your spirit goes beyond, lives on? Do you have any fear
I want you to stay for my
of where
answer.
you may go?
I want you to stay for my answer. Every time I get asked something like this with this meditation,
Uh-huh.
people run. So I want you to stay.
No, I won't run.
All
I'm
right,
staying
good.
for Jesus.
Go ahead.
You stay for Jesus. That's right. I love it. I love the Jesus stuff. All right, let me say something. First of all, you mentioned the blood of Christ.
That's right.
Right? So since we're talking about the blood of Christ, we should be able to get a DNA test and find out we actually linked to him. That's how I feel. That's a fact. If we're talking about blood and blood is tangible, we should find out what tribe was Christ from. They said Christ was from what? They said he was what? The king of the who? The king, hold on. Let me rock. The king of the Jews. And we know the word wasn't Jew, right? In fact, we even know his name wasn't Jesus because before 1565, hold on. I would stand next to you because I love you. I would stand next to you, sis, because I love you.
All right, I love you too, my
And I want to use as much as logic. Whenever it becomes too much, I'm going to fall back because I love you and religion separates us as a people.
There you go.
All right? So I'm not going to disrespect your convictions. Before 1565, you know there was no letter J in the English alphabet. So there would have been no Jesus. Phonetically speaking, there would have been no Jesus. No one called on Jehovah and no one called on Jesus because there was no letter J. And in the language that Jesus would have spoke, Galilean, which is a form of Arabic, right? Which I speak.
I'm not knocking it. Go ahead.
Those letters didn't exist. All right? So we wouldn't have now the purpose, the reason why I'm asking this is one, just to think about it. What's your name, sister?
My name is
Janet?
No.
What's your name? Michelle? What's your name? I'm sorry. What's your name?
My name is Crystal.
Crystal. Now, if I called you Janet or I called you Michelle,
Call me Crystal.
okay, if I called you Janet or Michelle, would you respond? If I was kind of like close to you, like Janet, Michelle, what if you told me your name is Crystal and I kept saying Christa or Christina? You will respond. Would you get a little frustrated if I called you by a name that wasn't your own after you made it clear what my name is?
Yes, then I would ignore it.
You would
obviously couldn't be talking to me.
I'm glad you said that. So why should Christ hear our call and we calling him by the wrong name? He should ignore us according to your logic.
There's no way that he's ignoring us, because right here you don't see the air, but you're living in it.
I understand
and
that.
And that air is him.
I agree.
So
go ahead.
Now,
that is you from ancient Egypt. Go ahead. I'm listening. I still want to answer your question though. Go ahead.
A lot of people do not see what is in existence. It's called faith. Okay?
I'm listening.
A lot of people don't have faith. They walk in sight. You know, they believe everything that the world says. And it goes on and on and on, and because it comes rumors, and it becomes religion, which is an organization. That's all it is.
I agree.
You know, I could start wearing a certain hat and tell my children we're gonna do it like this, and they bring forth their friends, and they bring forth their friends, and next thing you know, it's a religion.
I understand.
So you really cannot say that God is just, Jesus was just here, you know, in the flesh, and now he no longer lives on, you know, whatever, in between the heavens and the earth. The first word that God created was day. The first word. Why? Because he's the before and after. He's the one that created the day, and he created the night.
That's right.
And he created our souls. He without the spirit, we're nothing. We're nothing but the flesh. The flesh is nothing of the devil. The devil causes your hand to steal.
That's right.
You know, the devil causes your hand to steal, to kill, and all of those things. But the spirit, you have to walk in it, and that's love, that's honor, that's respect, loving your mother, loving your father. You know, all of that. That's good. Anything
your
bad
principles,
is of the devil.
your principles, a lot of your principles are all wise, right, and exact. So I'm smart enough not to argue with you, because a great deal of what you said is absolutely correct. On a matter of religion, we use the word spirit, right?
Yeah, but God is not a religion. He's a relationship.
I could deal with that.
So,
I mean, you sound like you got a close relationship with Jesus than I want with a man.
Yes.
So, but I know black women and Jesus. I know it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to have that relationship with Jesus. But this is what we're going to do.
Okay.
Because religious people or spiritual people have a tendency to use the word spirit quite a bit when they talk about or make reference to Jesus. When we talk about spirit and we talk about soul, we understand that in ancient languages like Hebrew and Arabic, which I speak, we find that the words for spirit and soul, right, is nefesh and ruach, or nafs, right, or ruh. And even if we go into Nephatic, we might have raw and we might have nafus. Whatever the case is, and all three of those perspective tongues, right, those tongues which the scriptures were translated from, we agree Hebrew and Arabic, if we're talking about the ancient languages, right, that the scriptures was translated from. We find that the word for spirit, so we don't get it spooky, because I know if I ask what does spirit mean, it's going to take you or someone else into a whole nother world. However, the book that we learn these terms from is just a transliteration. If we go into the exact translation of these words, right, we find that the words for nefesh, right, or nafs, or the word for ruh or ruach, which has been used for soul and spirit, simply means wind or breath. And we know, hold on, if we go to Matthew chapter 1 verse 18, we find the Holy Ghost. Well, we see that the word ghost in Matthew chapter 1 verse 18 is a mistranslation, because in the Greek, the word, hold up, don't say no, because it's true. If we go into you could get a Hebrew Greek concordance Bible, right? You'll see that the word for ghost is the Greek word pneuma, spelled with a P and then an N, which alludes to the lungs. So we know the Holy Ghost really is mistranslated. It means holy lungs, based on the language that it's translated from. Someone mistranslated. This is a fact. I don't want to tell you no lies. You can look it up yourself from any scripture you look at, any Bible you get. If you go into the concordance, you'll find someone mistranslated that, or maybe they felt that suit the best purpose. But the point is this: in Matthew chapter 1 verse 18, the word for Holy Ghost, is holy lungs. Now, if we go into spirit and soul, in the Old Testament, the word that they use for soul and the word they use for spirit is nefesh, right? Sometimes nefesh chayim in Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, okay? And then also when they said the Lord God blew his breath into man, man became a living soul. And then you also have what? You also have ruach. And again, these words just mean wind and breath. The wind is a conscious wind, and the spirit is just a breath. Okay? According to what the ancient terminology means and represents. Now, if we go into Arabic, right, we'll find that they call the devil, they said the devil's made up of Nar Samun. Nar Samun means what? Nar Samun means smokeless wind or poisonous wind or poisonous air. So we see that the devil is poisonous air. We see that spirit and soul is wind and breath. And we see that the Holy Ghost is holy lungs. We catching on? So life is about breathing. So when we go to Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, we see that man is made up of the Nefesh Chayim, which means what? He was a living soul because God blew his breath into man. Now, the opposite of exhalation is inhalation, and the opposite of respiration is what? Inspiration. If you look up the word God in any dictionary, one of the words that's synonymous with the word God, whether synonyms or definition, you're going to see is inspiration. And the word spire is there, as in conspire, respire, inspire. Spire comes from the root word spirit, spire, which means what? Breathe again. So all of this is about breathing the right way. So when we're in church and they're manipulating us through hitting the pants, they're getting us to breathe in inappropriate ways. So we start conjuring the wrong type of spirit or the wrong type of breath, which causes older people who shouldn't be knocking themselves down the floor. Oh, we shouldn't need 3 people to hold each other to stop somebody from banging their head. They are caused to breathe a certain way, which encourages them to lose the oxygen that has to go to the brain to make them make rational decisions and thinking, which makes your ghost spell a gospel, or your gospel a ghost spell. But I don't want to make spirit and soul spooky. It just means wind, and that wind is conscious of the life path that someone goes on, and breath. If you're taking enough air, breathing is important, but religion had neglected it quite a bit. If you breathe in the right amount of content from the air, there's a lot of what they call prana, or what Hindus call prana, where the Egyptians call sakhem, what the Chinese call chi. There's extra content in the air that if we took deeper breaths, we would live longer and we'd be more patient and more resolved. Therefore, like you see a tortoise will live to be 1,000 years old because it only breathes 3 times a minute, 1 to 3 times a minute.
So now
when you get angry, you breathe too fast.
I hear what you're saying, but my thing is, everything of what you just said is coming from him anyway. So either way, all of this air and oxygen and everything,
it's important.
The reason why we're here is because that's what he's giving us.
I don't want you to miss the point. Catch this one part real quick.
Okay.
If someone creates cigarettes for us to smoke.
Oh no.
And no, Christians do smoke here and there, right? Yeah. Christians smoke, right? You know some Christians that smoke, right? Okay,
I know some Christians that do a lot. I know a lot of Christians that are hypocrites.
But you know what? Probably because they wasn't educated, right? Not so much that
because they haven't been delivered.
No, let me tell you something about the education. If we go back to Matthew chapter 1 verse 18, right? Okay. We're going to see Holy Ghost, and if it was translated the right way, holy lungs, we would know that we're defiling our lungs when we smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, of course. That's
so
the
you
devil
see,
making you
so if the preacher understood the language of the scripture and he was conveying the message through the original language, most Christians wouldn't smoke. I can guarantee you that. Because he would be teaching that the devil is a poisonous air. He would be teaching that the Holy Ghost is a holy lungs. And he would be teaching that spirit and soul is wind and breath. So when we create mechanisms that destroy the atmosphere and products for us to smoke to destroy our lungs, we would be able to say that is a product of the devil because the devil's trying to compromise our air.
They're not born again. See, there's a difference. There's a difference. You could call yourself a Christian just because your mother and grandmother's in church, but you could walk the streets and want to still kill, do all this, and living up the devil. But you call yourself a Christian because your mama and your
but I want
to
focus on Christians too much. So, I want to focus on actually reading scriptures in the right language.
Yeah, of course. So now
this is my biggest problem talking to religious people. This is the biggest problem.
So
why won't we learn the language of the scriptures that we have so much conviction about? That's the question. Yeah. That's the biggest question. Because clearly, at least we could come up with our own interpretation of it, so we won't be led astray and subject to the opinion of somebody else that doesn't even know it themselves. So you're not only getting a poor dissertation, you're getting a poor dissertation of a poor dissertation, because when you look at it, right, I'm going to show you, for instance, look at Judaism. In Judaism, everything happens the same. God comes down with the Torah, the Tanakh, right? And then you got some people that say, yo, you know what, we got some flyers, it's called the Talmud Mishnah Zohar. Man comes and creates some stuff. Then you got the Bible, right? And God gives a message. And then Paul winds up with 14 books, and Jesus got a few little red writing in there, and Paul got more books than Jesus. And then on top of it, you have what's called epistles. Epistles means letters of men. So in God's book, we got letters of men. So here it is in Judaism. God got a book called the Tanakh, but man says we got some books to explain it. It's called the Talmud Mishnah Zohar. And then on the other end, you got the Bible, And then the Bible has epistles in there, and epistles means letters. So now we got to trust man's interpretation and God's book. Then we go to the Quran. I'm just going to show you something. And not even Quran, if we speaking in the right tongue, it's Quran, right? So we go to the Quran, right? And guess what? The Quran has what? Or the Quran has what? It's God's word, but guess what happens? They have what's called the Hadith and the Sunnah. They have the traditions and the stories. And more people are caught up with the traditions and stories than the Quran, which is supposed to be the best Sunnah. But what is my point? Let's start over again. If you read the Hebrew text, right? The Torah or the Tanakh, guess what else happened? Not only do we have men making up their own books, even though God created his own, and they're creating the Puff Daddy remix, guess what else happens? Their language is contorted because the Hebrew books are not written in original Hebrew. The Masoretes.
So can I ask you a question?
One more thing. Let me just conclude. The Hebrew book is written after who? The Masoretes. Who are the Masoretes? It comes from the root Hebrew word Masorah, which means tradition. A group of people got together and said, you know what? We should rewrite this Hebrew text called the Tanakh, God's word, and put it into a more sophisticated text where we add vowels to words and change the ideographic and pictographic meaning of the words, so people that speak Hebrew will have to learn from us to understand it when they would already understood it in its original language. Then we go to the Bible, and people already speak English, but guess what happens? They already speak English, but you know what happens? They turn around and put it into Shakespearean. So English speakers can't even understand what's in it, though they already speak in English. Then we'll go into what? We'll go into the Quran. And the Quran was already written in Arabic. But then they have to come up with a classical Arabic, an Arabic Fusha. They have to come up with a classical Arabic that even Arab-speaking people don't even understand. So we find in all the scriptures, not only did they remake, or not only did they create fabrications of the same story through man's vices, they've also created an alternate language that's similar to, but not as coherent in each one of those. So we see a consistency in reality, which is this. The same thing keep happening, and that's where the confusion is. When we trust other people with our spirit and our soul, as you would say, we go to hell because God gave us a mind. So God gave us a mind, right? If God gave us a mind, because God said we gods in Psalms 82:6. He said, ye are gods, you are gods, and all ye are children of what?
Psalms 82.
The Most High. Psalms 82:6. And the words there is what? You have Elyon or Elyon El. That means Most High. So we are gods. God said we are God, or God's God said we are God, or God shall say we are God. He said, ye are gods. So a God wouldn't sit here and say, I think it's convenient that they put this book in a language so it could be easier for me to read. God's child would say, look, I want to read it in its original language so no man can fool me. Because he said, let no man deceive you.
Let her ask her question.
Now you see, I'm not part of your religion, but I study it.
I'm not religious.
I'm not.
No, believe me.
I
Okay,
just follow Christ. I'm not religious. See, God is not a religion.
Believe it or not, you are
Jesus,
dealing with religion.
No, not religion.
No, listen to
It's
me.
an organization.
Because
Okay,
no, to her,
yes, to
when
me.
you're dealing with spirituality, there's no Jesus.
Now, let me tell you.
There's no Jesus in spirituality.
No, there is.
So when you start talking about the Bible,
But I want to just tell you.
hold on for 1 minute. Let me just say this.
All right.
When you're dealing with the Bible, when you're dealing with Jesus, when you're dealing with Moses, is Moses a part of it? Is Abraham a part of it? Now you are dealing with religion.
No,
there's none of that stuff when you're dealing with
God
spirituality.
does not like religion. He hates religion. Believe me.
The
when I
religion,
tell you.
sister, and I hate to say it,
It's
but
not a
I got to
religion,
say
it's a
it.
relationship.
The religion that you're dealing with is what
not
the
a-
white man gave you. He's the one that introduced you to that
Okay.
philosophy
Starting
that
that
you're
talk,
dealing with.
that's gonna take us
I got
somewhere
it, brother. But you got to tell them, in order to free the mind, you got to give it to him real.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
but you
trying
can't
to give it to you real.
You
but
can't
you're
be
not
gunning
letting
down
me.
Jesus.
Don't take my Jesus.
Yes, that's what.
Please don't take my
Listen,
Jesus.
listen.
Don't take my Jesus.
It's all blasphemy when it comes to the Lord. So that's what I'm saying. You,
Yes, I hear
you
you,
should be
sister.
aware.
And
Be
the reason
aware,
why I'm
because
telling
I'm
you
telling
and you're
you,
aware
when it
through
comes
Christ.
to when
I
it
love
comes
you.
to the man upstairs, he don't play. Now be aware because he expanded
Okay.
hell. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that reject.
Young lady,
reject
see now you're dealing with religion.
that is not
Heaven and
religion.
hell is a
It
state of
not-
mind, a
Listen,
state of being, and
religion-
planes of
religion
existence,
is
sister.
someone who walks this way, talks this way, acts that way. It's all fleshly. The Lord is the spirit.
We
It's
get the
all
word.
about the spirit.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Uh-oh, like you said, it's going to take you.
No, but that's in the flesh, though. That's in the flesh.
Just a question.
That's I
Tomorrow.
hear what you're saying,
He just broke it down from a linguistic